Hello and welcome, this is the Nuclear Rabbit and today I am doing a Vengeance Paladin. So as you can tell, we start off quite rough, with some champion spearwoman forcing us into a save and exit in the cold plains, all normal, not a good sign, not a good look either. After that we go and fight a Rakanishu, which also turns into a runaway, but into the underground passage where I think I'll be safe, but I'm wrong. But I do end up making it into the Black Marsh, where I almost die, again, in normal, Act 1. It's gonna be one of those kind of runs. And once again, an almost death. But I end up finding a grey form, quilted armor for some resist and some life lead, so I end up not using a stealth this time, which is quite a rarity. And with Holy Fire equipped, we are heading towards Andariel, who we completely destroy because she's weak to fire. In Act 2 nothing much happens, so we head to Duriel. But here you can really see the power of Holy Fire. Oh, and my weapon has amp damage on trigger. And we end up finding a unique mace, which is a crush flange. It has 50 fire resist and crushing blow, so I'm gonna be using that. Vengeance is a skill that's about using elemental damage. So you want your base weapon to do a lot of damage. But for normal we are just relying on Holy Fire, as we beat down the Council and Mephisto. And maybe Act 4 will go less rough, but no it won't. We are just walking in and getting our ass kicked by some souls. We do end up making it to Hephasto, the Hellforge. So Hellforge gives us a Tal Rune, which is nice. And on level 24 I actually end up respec Vengeance. What Vengeance does is just enhance damage for elementals, and it adds it to your normal weapon damage. So things like added damage from boots or something isn't relevant for Vengeance, which is quite a relevant thing in the later on in the run. Because I end up finding some boots with added damage, but that just doesn't work with Vengeance. So here's a Diablo fight, just lots of kiting around, lots of running around. And you can already start to tell that our crush flange isn't being powered up that much by Vengeance. Like the crushing blow is doing damage, but the weapon itself really isn't doing that much. But as usual, just a lot of dodging Diablo. Stay away from the fire, stay away from the lightning, especially stay away from the lightning. It kills you so fast. It's half physical, half lightning damage, it murders you. But we do end up taking him down for the double charm drop, by the way. Wish that was in hell. Diablo charms used to be wildly relevant. With Terror Zones not so much anymore, but we used to farm Diablo, Nilotak and Bale just for their charms. After Diablo I do some leveling up on Eldritch, but make my way towards the Ancients, who go down pretty easily. As usual, just split them up and start fighting them one on one. And the same goes for Bale, goes down pretty easily. I don't need to split him up, but if he makes a clone I just run away back to town, wait 8 seconds, go back, clone's gone. And we find a rare Warhammer, the Diablo. I'm just gonna use that, it's 160 ED, so that's a lot of damage. I use it to farm Mephisto normal. For some more gear, I just needed more gear at this point. My Vengeance Paladin just wasn't cutting it, so I end up finding a studded ladder. And I end up finding a goddamn Tower SS Education from Mephisto normal. So that's kind of insane. But I farm him a lot and I end up finding a bunch of Saigon pieces as well. For some attack rating, life leech, run, magic find. You name it, Saigon's got it. And I end up finding a unique ring as well. It's a Nagel ring. And there's the Saigon's armor, so I'm basically wearing the entire set. Find another amulet. Is it a repeat for the tiles? No, it's a Tancred. And with that, I end up going into Nightmare, which is still really dangerous. But we do get to Andariel, and our rare hammer is kind of doing okay. It's kind of not perfect, but it's doing. But I really wish I had found like some weapon off of Mephisto or Bale normal or something. But melee weapons in Diablo 2 are just kind of gimped, so gotta do what you gotta do. Start farming the counters on Nightmare for some Am runes, some Soul runes, some Shale runes, the usual. End up making a rhyme for Cannot Be Frozen, Magic Find and Resist. And head into Act 2, where I go ahead and kill Radamant. And here you can really start to see how slow this build actually is. Like, this build's a lot of fun and it's very safe, but just going through like random stuff takes forever. Like, look at this, these are just random monsters. This is a random room and it's an actual fight. But I end up fighting Duriel without Crushing Blow, which is not perfect. One thing you'll see me doing is using the Conviction Aura, even though it's not a synergy with Vengeance, but it lowers the resistance of the enemy, so it adds damage to Vengeance as well. Oh, I found a Blood Rise, a Morning Star, and I make it a Jagged Star. And I also found a Battle Branch, and I make it a Partisan for my Mercenary. So now we can go into Act 3, where the dolls are alive with the sound of death, decay and murder. With our new weapons we are making a good pace for a Vengeance Paladin. Don't ever think this build is fast, please, really don't. It's not. It's a lot of fun though, like I had fun with this for sure. Very challenging run. Go and fight the council, and one thing you don't have to be scared of with the council is you are running your own Conviction Aura, so theirs doesn't work because yours is higher level, it should be at least. And Conviction is very winner takes all. The one with the best aura just gets the aura, so you don't have to worry about the council having Conviction. I also found a second Silence Blade. If you want to have a good time, take a shot every time I find a piece of Silence in this video, you'll have fun. And in the Durance of Hate level 3, I find myself some War Travelers. And these are the boots I meant with some added damage. So that doesn't work. So these are basically 25 run and MF boots. Which is still good, but it's not that great. But still very cool to find War Travs. And with that we head for the Mephisto fight. And as you can tell, our weapons really just are not cutting it. This is Mephisto Nightmare and this just, it takes a while. But to be fair, the act bosses have a lot of resistances, so they're pretty hard to kill. But yeah, this is just me going through Act 4 and you can just see what kind of a massive struggle this is. I end up finding an Rune from the Hellforge in Nightmare, which is fantastic. And then we go for Diablo Nightmare, who is a lot easier than, as always, it's just a lot easier on Nightmare. You can go near him, the lightning just flows over you, you don't have to take care of it. And you can just whack him a bunch and he dies. So I end up finding a white Partisan and adding some sockets to it. I was gonna do whatever rune would fit in the sockets. If I got like 3 sockets, I would have done Ithel Add. If it had 4 sockets, I would have done Spirit. If I had 5 sockets, which I did, I made an honor. Then I started gambling some rings because I'm basically maxed out on gold at this point. And I end up finding 2 resist all rings, which is just nice. And after that I decide to farm the counters some more for some more runes. I believe I ran out of soul runes. And I end up finding a crude shield with 30 resist all. End up buying a ring mill with 3 sockets. And I'm making a shale a thal in that. Which is a Duras. For the crushing blow, the open wounds, massive resist. And I end up using the crude shield for the sockets. And make a spirit in that. So that's a Tal, Thal, or Am. For +2 skills, faster cast rate, hit recovery, vitality, mana, resist, everything. Spirit is so broken, it's such a good rune with. With that I start farming Mephisto Nightmare. I end up finding a plated belt with some resists. And some Frost Nova when struck. I'm gonna use that if I ever grow out of the Silence basically. Which I am going to do at some point. Have this excellent double Berserker armor drop. And not all runs were as smooth because I almost die on the way there. But in the next run, I find myself some Goblin Toes, almost die again. These were runs for sure. You know when you're farming something and it's like, yeah, I did a farm. Yeah, this was like that. And I end up finding a Bone Snap from Mephisto. And I end up making the Bone Snap a War Club. And now I finally have a weapon that deals some serious damage. I end up going for the 124 strength needed for it. And with that, I am smacking an Ist rune. Yeah, you saw that correctly. That was an Ist rune on Nightmare. Out of the literal first thing I killed with the hammer. So I'm really enjoying this hammer right now. And with the power of the hammer, finally able to go forward and clear out Act 5 Nightmare. Because my damage just was not cutting it. So for the Ancients, as usual, we try to split them up. Because when I don't, I'm in danger. We take Medak behind the pillar and whack him a bunch. We can do a 2v2, that's fine as well. But yeah, look at the hammer. When it hits, it's chunking. But I will need to farm another weapon. I can't do hell with this. Like, it's not gonna happen. This weapon is slow, but that's because I lost the Cannot Be Frozen from Rhyme. And I should have brought Thawing Pots as well. But I just forgot. but man does this thing hit when it does. One other thing that's quite convenient is Conviction also lowers the defense of your enemies, which means even with low attack rating you're hitting stuff way more. This is the one melee build that just hits stuff, which is great. The ancients are down. But look at this list of fight, for instance. I mean, look at my hammer go. Bam, gone, bam, gone. And 3 hits for a minion. This is one of the best list of fights I've had in months. Especially for a melee build. And then we have Bale Nightmare, who is, even despite the Conviction aura, very hard to hit. But when we hit, oh boy, do we hit him hard. Bale goes down. He drops us a Lum rune, which is really nice. I just love finding like these things like Lum runes and runes in Nightmare. It just makes everything so much easier. And I end up gambling circles because I farmed so much with this character that I'm just full up on gold again. I end up finding this circle with a lot of resists and some faster run walk. And I decide to try Hell. But as you can tell, I went back to my one-handed weapon and the damage is just not cutting it. I mean, these Yetis should not be this much of a fight. I end up going for the Imbue on a Coronet, which gives me a dual leech life resist all helmet, which I end up giving to my mercenary, but I'm still very happy with that. And then it's time for the Andariel fight. I just want to try and kill her to see if I can farm her, basically. She's a much better farm than Bale Nightmare. Not because she can drop more items, I don't believe she can. But it's just so much easier to get her, and I honestly just think Bale running is such a long grind for like one real drop. And then Dariel is very doable. She drops me a crown, which isn't that relevant. But I decide to be even more ballsy and go for the pits. Basically with the logic of, okay, if act bosses have that much resist, it might be better to go into the pits. Which doesn't work, but I end up finding a terrorized zone in Nightmare for the stony field, and I end up farming Rakanishu. I basically went in for the levels. But I'll take the Tyrant Club, which is a Demon Limb, and now this is a weapon I can beat the game with. So I immediately socketed it, put a Hell Rune in it. I put a Hell Rune in it because I do not want 133 strength, it's way too much. And with that I'm basically set for the game. I just need to go towards the end bosses and kill them at this point. So what I'm doing here is I'm using Smite instead of Vengeance. And I know, it's a Vengeance run. But Smite is uninterruptible. And it always hits. So it's very easy to trigger Crushing Blow with Smite. And the act bosses just have so much resist all that they're basically forever tanky with Vengeance. So I do end up using Smite a small bit on the act bosses. But I wanted to illustrate the difference as well. You just saw me smiting a bunch, and this is me using Vengeance, which immediately results in me not dealing enough damage and having to go back to town. I mean, just look at this. This is less than ideal. I mean, we get there, but... And then it's time for Act 3 Hell with the dolls, who I just let my mercenary take care of. Because there's no fucking way I'm going in there. Luckily, on the next corner, there's another boss pack of dolls. I mean, my mercenary isn't winning this. So I leave the Flayer dungeon. I find another set amulet. Is this the repeat? Yes, but of the Tancred. Then I go for the Ruined Temple, and at this point it's just such a massive grind with this character. Just look at this, like, this is not that much of stuff. It's just not happening. So maybe on attempt 2? Well, no. I'm not beating that. But I do end up getting the tomb. Took me 3 tries. But it doesn't matter how often you try, as long as you succeed, I suppose. And with that we go for the council, who I just lure out one by one. I mean, 2 at a time of the not special ones is fine as well. But just taking it easy, making sure you're safe is just very important in this build. And with that, the final council member, who drops me a friggin' jar rune. Just casually a jar rune. So yeah, I found a jar rune in this run. A Nist, a jar, a Tal's amulet. Just casual things, you know. I end up running from some dolls again, having to fight a bit of the council camp because the portal just doesn't work here. Like, my Paladin just forgot to go down the stairs here. So I end up having to do this and then going down. And then I make it to Mephisto Hell, where I do the smite thing again, just for the crushing blow. Because as you can tell, Vengeance against bosses is just not that good, I'm afraid. But we do end up taking Mephisto down. He drops us a unique ring. And after the Mephisto fight, we are going into the Plains of Despair, where the souls are awaiting. And just the Plains of Despair on its own with this character with the souls took me an hour. Because as you can tell, this is a massive struggle for this character. But it is doing it. I mean, besides dolls, I actually think this can clear the entire game. So at that point, I have to explain something. My game crashed and my recording was gone for like the last hour. So I'm missing the River of Flame, which dropped me a Mal rune. And I ended up finding a 2-socket Dusk Shroud, as you saw. And I ended up making the Mal tier rune word in the Dusk Shroud. Basically because I want the resist and the defenses. Because Holy Shield boosts your defense a lot. So I just want the tankiness. With that, we head into the Chaos Sanctuary, where my mercenary decides he can tank fanaticism. I can't, but he definitely thinks he can. So I'm gonna go ahead and run away, and he's like, nah, screw that, I'm heading in. But he ends up running away with me as well. A lot of playing a single player Diablo character is just managing your mercenary. But once again, just one monster at a time. This entire run was just one monster at a time. To give some perspective, my usual runs, because people ask this a lot, tend to last 12 to 18 hours depending on the build. Like the sorceress might be fast, like 12 hours, maybe 10 hours even for a good sorceress. The barbarians take like 16, 17, 18 hours. This character took 45 hours. So that's 3 of my usual runs. And this is just really highlighting why that is. Like everything takes so long because you need to split up everything. So the Lotus Size fight takes a few minutes, as you can tell. Every single boss pack took this long. To give some more perspective, the Spirazon felt like a racing machine compared to this. Oh, as usual, I have the unlucky map on the Chaos Sanctuary, so I have to go ahead and walk back again. And here I end up just kiting a few Venom Lords at a time. And I get really lucky, the Infector comes up first, so I don't have to clear the rest, which is really nice. And then for the Diablo fight, Diablo hell just isn't that hard. I mean, just stand there and punch him a bunch in the dick, basically. And once again, smite for crushing blow purposes. You can just tell how long this takes with just Vengeance, and you saw how fast smite was. So Diablo hell goes down, and with one final act to go, we head towards the Ancients, who we just reset a bunch. Because I need the godliest of specs on the Ancients for this one. And same as on Normal and Nightmare, I just split them up. Basically, I think I can do a 2v2. And with that, Colic goes down, and here we go for Maddock again. Basically, we just corner him and pound him a bunch. Then we go for Talek. As long as we stand still and don't run into his wound, we're fine. And with that, we just clear out everything else and head for Bale. Okay, so we did it. So this is my gear. It's a Bulwark Shield, IO Soul, a Demon Limb with a Hell Rune in it. Prudence is the name I couldn't remember. A Maltier in it. Strength, Life, Resist. Talthal, Art Arm Spirit. Goblin Toes, Auto Grasp the Ring for some resist. This Resist Belt. Crushing Blow Gloves, Resist Ring number 2. And here are our skills. Batman, because he is Vengeance. And these are our stats. Bunch of Crushing Blow. And these are my skills, just maxing out into Holy Shield while I'm leveling. And here we have it, Guardian Batman. Because he is Vengeance. Thank you for watching. See you in the next one. Bye bye.